The American Civil War, 1861 to 1865, was the deadliest conflict in the United States. History and one of the most transformative events in modern world history, fought between the Union, the North, and the Confederacy, the South. The war reshaped the nation's political structure, economy, and social system. At its heart, the conflict centered on slavery, states' rights, economic differences, and the future direction of the United States. The roots of conflict. To understand the truth about the war, we must look at the decades leading up to it. From the nation's founding, the issue of slavery divided the country. Northern states gradually abolished slavery, while southern states built their economy around plantation agriculture, particularly cotton, which relied heavily on enslaved labor. The invention of the cotton gin by Eli Whitney in 1793 made cotton production highly profitable. This strengthened the Southern commitment to slavery. Meanwhile, the North was becoming more industrialized, focusing on factories, railroads, and wage labor rather than slavery. As America expanded westward, each new territory raised a critical question: would it allow slavery or not? Compromises such as the Missouri Compromise 1820 and the Compromise of 1850 temporarily eased tensions, but they did not solve the underlying conflict. The Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854 allowed territories to decide the slavery issue themselves, leading to violent clashes known as Bleeding Kansas. The Supreme Court's 1857 Dred Scott decision ruled that African Americans were not citizens and that Congress had no authority to ban slavery in territories. This outraged many Northerners and deepened national divisions. The election of 1860, the election of Abraham Lincoln in 1860, was the final trigger. Lincoln, representing the Republican Party, opposed the expansion of slavery into new territories. Although he initially promised not to interfere with slavery where it already existed, Southern leaders feared his presidency threatened their economic and social system. After Lincoln's victory, 11 Southern states seceded from the Union, beginning with South Carolina. They formed the Confederate States of America under President Jefferson Davis. The Union declared secession illegal. Tensions escalated until April 1861, when Confederate forces fired on Fort Sumter in South Carolina. The Civil War had begun. Was the war really about slavery? One of the most debated questions is whether the war was truly about slavery or about states' rights. Historical documents make the answer clear. Southern states explicitly declared slavery as the central reason for secession. Their declarations of secession repeatedly mentioned the protection of slavery as essential, while states' rights was used as a justification. The primary right being defended was the right to own enslaved people. Economically, socially, and politically, slavery was at the core of Southern society. However, for many Northern soldiers, especially early in the war, the main goal was preserving the Union rather than ending slavery. Over time, the war's purpose evolved. Major phases of the war: early Confederate success, 1861 to 1862. At the beginning, the Confederacy had advantages. Southern generals were experienced and they were fighting defensively on familiar territory. Leaders like Robert E. Lee won important victories against Union forces. The Union, however, had more soldiers, factories, railroads, and resources. Its industrial strength would eventually become decisive. Turning points: 1863. The year 1863 marked a turning point. Two major events changed the war's direction. The Battle of Gettysburg, the largest battle fought on American soil, ended in Union victory and stopped Lee's invasion of the North. The Siege of Vicksburg. The Union gained control of the Mississippi River, splitting the Confederacy in two. In the same year, Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation, declaring enslaved people in Confederate territory to be free. Though limited in immediate effect, it transformed the war into a fight against slavery and discouraged European powers from supporting the Confederacy. Total War 1864-1865. Union General Ulysses S. Grant and General William Tecumseh Sherman adopted a strategy of total war. targeting not only Confederate armies but also infrastructure, railroads, and supply lines. Sherman's march to the sea devastated Georgia and broke Southern morale. By early 1865, Confederate forces were exhausted. In April 1865, Lee surrendered to Grant at Appomattox Courthouse. The war was effectively over. The human cost of the Civil War was extraordinarily deadly. An estimated 620,000 to 750,000 soldiers died from battle, disease, and poor medical care. It remains the bloodiest war in American history. Civilians also suffered greatly. Cities were destroyed, farms ruined, and families divided. The South's economy collapsed, leaving deep scars that lasted generations. The end of slavery, one of the most significant outcomes, was the abolition of slavery. The 13th Amendment to the Constitution, ratified in December 1865, officially ended slavery throughout the United States. The 14th Amendment granted citizenship to former enslaved people, and the 15th Amendment protected voting rights for black men. These changes attempted to create a more equal society. However, the end of slavery did not bring immediate equality. During Reconstruction, 1865 to 1877, efforts were made to rebuild the South and integrate freed people into society. But resistance, violence, and racist laws, known as Black Codes and later Jim Crow laws, undermined progress. Myths and misunderstandings. Over time, some narratives about the war have distorted its causes and consequences. The Lost Cause myth. After the war, some Southerners promoted the Lost Cause narrative, which portrayed the Confederacy as noble and downplayed slavery as a cause. This interpretation influenced textbooks, monuments, and public memory for decades. Modern historians widely agree that slavery was central to the conflict, and the Lost Cause myth obscures that truth. States' rights argument. While states' rights were discussed, they were closely tied to protecting slavery. When states' rights conflicted with preserving slavery, Southern leaders often supported strong federal enforcement of pro-slavery laws, such as the Fugitive Slave Act. Role of African Americans played a crucial role in the war. Nearly 180,000 black men served in the Union Army and Navy after the Emancipation Proclamation. They faced discrimination and often received lower pay, but their service was vital to Union victory. Enslaved people also resisted slavery by fleeing plantations, providing intelligence and weakening the Confederate labor system. Their actions helped undermine the Southern war effort. International perspective. European powers like Britain and France watched the war closely. Britain relied heavily on Southern cotton, but had abolished slavery decades earlier. The Emancipation Proclamation made it politically difficult for European nations to support the Confederacy, as doing so would appear to support slavery. Thus, the Union's moral shift toward emancipation helped prevent foreign intervention. Political consequences. The war permanently changed the balance of power between federal and state governments. The federal government emerged stronger, with greater authority over states. Before the war, people often referred to the United States as a collection of states. After the war, it became more clearly a single unified nation. The presidency also gained power, especially during times of national crisis. Economic impact. The war accelerated industrialization in the North. Railroads expanded, manufacturing increased, and new financial systems developed. The South, however, faced devastation. Plantations were destroyed, enslaved labor was gone, and infrastructure was ruined. Recovery was slow and uneven. Over time, the South transitioned to sharecropping, a system that kept many black families in poverty and economic dependence. Long-term legacy. The Civil War continues to influence American society. Issues of race, citizenship, and federal authority remain central political debates. Confederate monuments and symbols have sparked controversy in recent years. Many argue they represent slavery and rebellion, while others claim they honor heritage. These debates reflect how the memory of the war remains deeply emotional. The struggle for civil rights in the 20th century, including the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1960s, can be seen as a continuation of unresolved issues from the Civil War era. The truth in perspective, the American Civil War was not simply a battle between North and South. It was a moral and political crisis about freedom, power, and the meaning of equality. While economic differences and political disputes played roles, slavery was the central cause. The war determined that the United States would remain one nation and that slavery would end. Yet, freedom did not immediately bring justice. The legacy of slavery continued through segregation, discrimination, and inequality long after the war ended. Understanding the truth about the Civil War requires acknowledging its complexity. It was a tragedy that cost hundreds of thousands of lives, but it also led to profound constitutional and social change. In many ways, the Civil War was America's second founding, a moment when the nation redefined itself around the principles of unity and, at least in theory, equality. More than 150 years later, its lessons remain relevant. The war reminds us that divisions over justice and human rights can threaten even the strongest nations. It also shows that change, though painful, can reshape history. The American Civil War was not just a war of armies, it was a war of ideas. And its consequences continue to shape the United States today.